There are days that are really hard, and you realize that we need each other. We need to join hands together and work together. Wow, that's some wonderful message from AYF Band. But of course, before we had news at 8, and here we are with our Family Hour, empowering families one episode at a time. Today is a Monday, and this is our Monday edition. Monday is always education and career. We are delighted to have you today. The day started with some heavy downpour, but we are glad. Of course, the evening looks funny. We anticipate that probably it might rain again, or maybe early in the morning again. But nevertheless, we are here to give you the very best of what you expect from us. Edwin Austin Mukalazi is my name, together with the entire team, to take you through today's discussion. Since it's a Monday, we know that much as the World Teachers Day was some weeks ago, of course, it was officially celebrated in Uganda on Saturday last week. And of course, the president, together with Mama Janet, who is also the Minister of Education and Sports, but also the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Education, that is Canon Kedres to the agenda, and then of course the State Minister for Primary Education, Honorable Kaduchu, and very many other dignitaries were present on the event. And among the other people, of course, that were present were the trade union leaders, and one of them is the one we have, the General Secretary of the Uganda Private Teachers Union, who is none other than Mr. Mwamula Juma. It's a pleasure having you this evening.
Thank you so much, my brother. Good evening to you once again, and good evening to the viewers out there. I want to take this occasion to say a much thanks, especially to the hustlers who have been through the hard day today. I know some of them at this time could be at home, maybe from the hustles. There could be those like us who are still into it and not yet over. Maybe some others, especially the night hustlers, are just beginning their work and so on. I want to say thank you so much for that you're doing. It's that the country is. Indeed. And we are so glad. Indeed.
We are also glad that you've spared this time to come and share with us. Of course, we want to look at a lot of irregularities, especially in the education sector. And there is much more we can talk about before we get into the discussion. We know that our brothers, our sisters, our children, the senior fours, are in their second week of their final exams.
Sure.
How are they moving on, especially with this new curriculum, out of the experience and out of what your colleagues share with you?
On that subject, allow me say a congratulations, especially to the young girls and boys out there who are facing their papers as we speak now. Senior fours, this is their second week through into the exams, and that is for the lot of the new curriculum, pioneer class, and also the last class of the others with all the curriculum who had gotten a remedial provision, to be especially those who did not make it so well last year. I want to congratulate them. And I want to say that really the future is right into your hands. So when you're writing, be courageous to write your future.
Okay.
What, as a teacher, I may put across is anybody doing his or her exam, especially those who are into the papers and those who are about to start P7 and Senior 6 and others, avoid malpractice. Avoid people who are going to lie to you that you see we can help you to get the papers and therefore be able to pass. Whatever you so far have is what you need to have, and it is on merit of that you will write your future. Let people not have despair that when you sit a paper and it all does not go well, then the career has ended. No, there is a lot. Just right here in the heart of Kampala, if you look around the people who are employing others, they may have not been those best students in their classes at the time of their schooling. So I mean, it is all about discipline. It is all about conscience of who you want and the determination for you to pursue what you want. So for the children who are for exams, please write your exams with discipline. Write your exams with the determination. It is on the basis of that you will be able to make it.
Yeah.
Then to the parents, I want to say congratulations, especially those who have pushed their children into candidate classes. Lately, there is a style where parents are really putting it to a higher level. We see people gifting in terms of cars, gifting in terms of very costful, money-made flowers, and so on and so forth. That style could be so good, maybe an expression of love, but maybe we need also to do a much more deeper reflection on its meaning. Because if truly it is a gift that is coming once in a while, you should make it in such a manner that the student or the child you want to gift really does not misconstrue it, misunderstand it. To imagine that because you have gotten a 5 million flower, then you're the most accomplished in the whole process. And then to the others who are seeing their colleagues moving away with the cars as success cards, but perhaps for you, your parents cannot even afford a basic success card on the streets of Kampala, do not despair. When we read from the lives of people who have made history around us, some of them, their revelations are really very humbling. A while ago, the Prime Minister of Uganda was giving us a revelation of how hard days, her early child and schooling days were. And they sounded too humble. Today is one of the most distinguished Ugandans.
The premier.
Is actually the premier. First of all, in terms of authority, in terms of influence, and therefore, maybe in terms of wealth. And is a woman really who has done something around her life.
True.
People tell us that in Kakumiro is a big entrepreneur owning a radio station. So the message I want to carry out from this is, do not mind the situation, the status quo now. That is not your future. Just use the moment now, make effective preparations. You can always have a better future going forward.
Okay.
Overall, I want to wish you all the very best while you're writing your exams.
We wish you the same. Now, welcome back from Lugogo.
Thank you so much, my brother. Of course, when you mention about welcoming back from Lugogo, we receive it with a lot of excitement and laughter, because the news that came eventually were fairly good news. First of all, from the background of teachers in private schools, we need to acknowledge that these people are working under very hard situations that we have overly stated here. We do not have a particular indication that there can be any salvation that would come, and it is cross-cutting upon all teachers in the country to improve their welfare. Because even when the government, for example, increases salaries for its teachers, that salary does not relate to anybody working with a private school. What matters is how the individual teacher of a particular private school has negotiated with his or her employer. That is what is happening. And therefore, it has been a very unclear fate, a very unclear status quo. But as we were coming back from Kololo, His Excellency made a very serious and perhaps life-changing declaration. Last year, on the same occasion of marking commemoration of World Teachers' Day, the President made a promise of 20 billion shillings to teachers who are organized under trade unions and then the entire group of teachers. Last time when you were in Kororo, just this Saturday, he was there to actualize his promise, and indeed even went ahead to sign a dummy to that effect. So very soon, that teacher in a private school whose salary cannot change because of the situation of his or her school has gotten an opportunity that now the president or the government has put forth a seed capital onto which we can tap, do something productive, and change our lives. And therefore, this is something we all should be thankful to His Excellency the President. it is something that should ring a bell upon us as workers in private schools to get organized.
Okay.
Because like we said, this is a seed capital and it is coming in the fashion of money for a circle. Circles have operating standards. The bylaws are even pre-made for you. You just fit within. You do not make your own. You only fit within the already pre-made. So what is required of anybody out there is get set and tap onto this money. Access is going to be made as convenient as possible to fit within really the situation under people in the private schools work. Interest is very, 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 very affordable. And why we are putting interest, why it is going to be accessed on terms of learning, is because there are so many teachers in private schools. We cannot go by a formula of saying, let's have all this that has been granted to us distributed among ourselves. In the first instance, it will not have any efficacy, any effectiveness. It doesn't make sense. But also, it will not even make any meaning when distributed across all the number of teachers in the country. So therefore, what happens is that one person who is ready at a time indicate and express need. You get the money at very, very, very friendly terms. Use that money to change your life, but also repay it back at a later stage for another person to also get it. It's actually supposed to be a revolving fund, revolving in such a manner that for us in service at this stage, you will be able to access of it, but also those other younger brothers and sisters of ours who are still in pipeline, about to come, will be able to find it. Perhaps the fund will have grown by that time, and so shall also be able to profit from it. That is the fortune His Excellency YKM7 has given to us. And for me, I want to take this stand to say, I think all that we have as teachers is to express appreciation towards that very kind gesture from the head of the state.
Okay. Still on that note, I think it was last week when there was a concern over, or last week but one, there was a concern over teachers in public service borrowing loans from money lenders, and I think it was in Wakiso district actually. So this was a concern in Wakiso district where teachers now have abandoned work because they're hiding away from money lenders. I think you could have known about this probably. But now the concern is when addressing the issue, a representative from UNATU said that, don't worry, come and use our official circle. And the collateral security you need is your head teacher. Because it is easy to track this particular person. What about in primary school, in private schools where someone doesn't have really permanent terms of employment? Today they are here, maybe they can be terminated, or after some time they go somewhere else. So someone was working in Kampala, and then there are greener pastures in the area, and so in Soroti, so they run to Soroti. What mechanism are you going to use as collateral and to track these people?
First of all, it's true about some of our colleagues having multiple loans, and indeed many of them have even went ahead to mortgage their ATM cards, and they also given their PIN codes. You can imagine how tricky and difficult the situation always is. That is coming because the money at the exposure of a teacher is really not enough in relationship to the needs that teacher has over time. So as he moves around, maybe he gets the salary today, after 2-3 days the money is all spent, yet he still has to live. So he goes about to see where else can I get money to be able to repay when another salary comes. That has been the kind of bondage that we are tied in. Now this approach of government support to the teachers is exactly to answer that. First, in the statement, in the words of His Excellency, at Lugogo, he indicated that there is a government commitment to increase and to enhance salaries for teachers. And indeed the same has happened already with the scientists.
Yes.
But those in humanities and those in primary levels, he says it shall be done gradually. And for him, he says is prioritizing infrastructure such that it can make a basis for more revenue for the country to be able to finally pay off the teachers. But besides that, now he has put a seed onto which somebody can tap. And other than seeking for higher pay, you utilize this seed for alternative income. That is why he's beefing up our circles. So somebody who is a member of UNATO has already been capitalized to about 15 billion shillings. Walimu is successfully operating just around Kampala here in Tinda area. Just the other day on Saturday, capitalized the Uganda Private Teachers Union members circle. That for our colleagues in Liberal Teachers Union and also for our colleagues in scientists. The issue is, if you think that what you're getting from your school is not enough, consider another alternative option. Have your salary come after the 30 days, but do a side hustle. That probably does not take a lot of your time. Of course, that does not mean that you will have a justification to be absent at work. But something that you can supervise while you are effectively doing your work here. So when that is done, you will be able to realize something and therefore be able to meet off some of the costs that are otherwise forcing people to go into borrowing. Now, asking about how we may keep guard against especially non-payments because people do not have job security, is that we have criteria for qualification to merit as a circle, as a beneficiary of the monies from the circle. As we speak today, because the circle has been operating for a while, it has what is called a loan policy. A loan policy is a guiding document that guides how somebody can access of money from a circle. So it has details of, first of all, how much can a person get at a time. That how much is determined by how much is your stake into the circle. It has details of legibility. Who really is eligible to have a partake of this? If we are speaking about teachers in private schools and maybe you are out of the scope, of course the eligibility question will be so clear on that. It would require you to be a teacher and a teacher working with a private school because other teachers elsewhere are already catered for, like I earlier had shared with you. So now in terms of security, we have security that can be guaranteed to you by the school where you're coming from. Your school recommends that you, Mr. Mwamula Juma, may go and get this amount of money and so on and so forth. Because part of the principles of a circle is that we must avoid as much as possible really to avoid to do the losses. It is not the desire that when somebody picks the money, just runs away and you say, you know, President Agabo, this Christmas season, therefore we have it. No. So it would require that either you have a guarantee from the school where you're coming from, and in the event that you are unable or you disappear or anything happens, then the school may possibly help. That is option one. There are also other options where your own colleagues can guarantee you.
Who are members of the circle? Your
own colleagues who are members and have records with the circle can guarantee you. Of course, because circle is a financial institution, the record we are speaking about here is money. Because the circle, the first letter is actually an acronym, but S itself is for saving. So the presumption is that you should have been saving with the institution. And therefore, if you want such money and you have been saving, and then you're also taking me as your guarantor and I've also been saving, in the case you're taking away 5 million, but in saving all of us maybe have 10, then you can clearly see that fairly your loan is guaranteed, even if you are unable. At least besides, on top of what you could have managed to pay, they can come down to what you had on your account, come down to what your guarantor had on his account and be able to recover other members' money. That is another option. There are also other options where the individual person may have in terms of security. I want 5 million, but perhaps I have my own land that I can stake as an individual. In case I do not pay this money, you can do this and the other things. All those. In short, the circle is aware of the dynamics under which people in private schools work. And therefore, we are trying to put forth as many options of convenience as possible, such that no one person can be left out. But principally, this being a circle, is that there is going to be a lot of efforts to make sure that for every money lent out, there is fair guarantee that such money will be recovered.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Juma, as one of the people who have been at the front of advocacy for this money, and we are glad that it is almost here now, because all signs are clear that the money is coming. At least the dummy check that was signed is enough proof that money is going to be released.
Dummy check and the processes that are happening in the Ministry of Finance are all very clear proof, and so we do not have any doubt about that.
I'm optimistic that when this money comes, it is going to help address some of the challenges, especially financial challenges that teachers, especially in private schools, are having.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I may tell you, the biggest problem, the most underlying problem that is affecting a teacher, especially under private schools, and even our colleagues in public schools, especially the arts and those in primary, is the question of welfare. All these cases you speak about, teachers part-timing, running from one school to another, is to seek for a way of managing their lives, to fend for their families. We have experience of people who are teaching in schools where they cannot afford to take their own children. It's a question of welfare. That is why we are saying that with the provision of this money, now all they are telling us is, do not solely depend on salary. You have a salary, perhaps as a seed money, but consider other alternative livelihood. And in this case, alternative livelihood is enterprise. So it is expected, and indeed the circle part of its mandate shall be phased out at a larger scale. But we are going to do a lot, our team is going to do a lot of financial literacy to unlock people's mind that you do not have to think of that pay that come after 30 days only as your livelihood. Instead, think of something from where you can get some little thing. By the way, it may not have to be a bigger business of you going to Chikubo to invest $1 billion shilling. If we can only emulate life of our colleagues on the street there, somebody gets 3 million shillings and they get an old border, but after a while, those people, when you trace them in their basic life, they are far better than many teachers around us. Because for him, in a day, is able to get 30,000 shillings. Of the fuel and all these other things. 30,000 shillings put aside. With the discipline, that is 30,000 shillings, when well managed, can translate somebody into a better life. This is what we are aiming at. Even if that teacher has an enterprise and is able to have, even if 10,000 shillings saved per day, that can make a difference in his or her life. And 10,000 is something very affordable. It's just a matter of you changing your mindset. It's just a matter of you seeing things a little bit differently. It's because the education system that we are students of and that we are even propagating forward has largely trained us to be submissive and be working for these formal structured systems. People hardly look at options of really doing it on their own, especially when they have been into school. You go to school, you get your certificate, your diploma, your degree, and you consider doing your own business. It's like you wasted your efforts in school. That is the bad thing. But now we want to unlock that and indicate that somebody will keep at work, keep in teaching, because indeed we want you in teaching. And this grant has also been given to you because you are teaching. But while you are doing that, you still can do something productive as an alternative option.
Okay. Of course, there is a lot that we are going to talk about. Let's take a short commercial break. When we return, we are going to talk about the other irregularities and what we think can be done, especially to address the welfare of a teacher. Because I think I love UNATU's slogan. I think it is
because we are
the nation is.
I think it's more of a teacher slogan, really.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody should have a reflection. There is no one such person who is accomplished without a teacher.
Let's
You're
take a short commercial break.
You're a journalist, you have been to a class. You are
This is Church of Uganda Family TV, enriching lives.
Welcome back from the break. This is Family Hour. Today is a Monday, just in case you forgot. You know, sometimes when we are just from the weekend, you might think today is a different day. Today is a Monday, but it is ending. That's the good news. And of course, Monday is education, and we are looking at some of the irregularities that happen in the education sector. Before the break, we are actually emphasizing the UNATU slogan that the nation...
the teacher's slogan.
The teacher's slogan.
Because we are, the nation
is. And that is a teacher. Because all of us are a product of teachers. Sometimes we come here and we twist the languages we speak, but there is someone behind who actually helped in empowering us to be the people we are. And that is why this day is actually very, very important. But still looking up to this day and looking out for, there have been a lot of issues. I remember the last time we hosted you here in Issues at Hand, we were addressing the teachers' bill. You were in Parliament trying to raise concerns and, over this bill, because the issue is that probably this is aimed at, I mean, we look at as if it is trying to, someone would say, streamline the education profession, because before anyone admitted for education at the university is someone who doesn't qualify for the other prestigious courses, if I can put it like that. You realize that if someone puts it as a third choice, that is when they are admitted because they don't meet the cutoff points of the other courses. Yet, probably that wouldn't be the case. So someone says that all these are aimed at streamlining the education profession and bringing sanity to it, and also making it more competitive rather than how it is, because it is more like a free entry, free exit. Is it the case according to you, and as someone who is critically analyzing this bill that is proposed?
Our thoughts on the proposed teachers bill have been so clear, so loud, and very consistent. The basis on which the proposals are premised are some of those issues you highlighted, that they intend to professionalize the profession, that they intend to curb the problem or the challenge of absenteeism. They tend to address the question of ethical conduct. Those are their considered defects and others. And if I may say, indeed, it is true, all those are happening. Even right this year, we have cases of some school heads, who are teachers, by the way, who were given money for UNEB registration, but did not really remit that money to UNEB, and so made their children to miss. All those are issues of unethical behaviors, and they need to be curbed. They need to be really addressed. But like we earlier stated in our submissions, when you look at the details of the proposals in the bill, it does not seem to address the questions. Because if you're speaking about absenteeism, have them because we do not have the money. Just a while ago, the government had lifted the seal for recruitment of teachers, and they were recruiting teachers for secondary school. But when you look at the profile of those they recruited diploma holders. Because if they had gone for degree holders, it would mean a slightly bigger wage bill. Because what somebody gets when he's enrolled as a graduate is different from what he or she gets when he's enrolled as a diploma holder. So you can even see the government opts for people who are less qualified because of the money matters. Now the bill here is saying in one of its sections that for anybody to teach in Uganda from the level of nursery, call it baby class wherever you are, from the level of baby class up to senior 6, that person must minimally have a degree in education. If you want to understand its meaning, I want you to make a look at that closest nursery or primary school in your area, in your village area. Look at how much parents there are paying in fees, and how much of such money would be enough to pay off even if 3, 4, 5 graduate teachers in those schools. If the government itself is hesitant to employ graduate teachers because of the wage bill, what is the possibility that private school in your home district will be firmly able to employ graduates and pay them such that really these issues of absenteeism, these issues of ethical conduct are not curbed? So you realize that it is just a self-defeating proposal. Because we already have said that teachers are jumping from one school to another because one school maybe pays half of his or her rent. The other school pays has a subsidy for his child. So that is why he must also appear there. Another school is maybe where he gets money to be able to fend for the house in terms of meals and a few other things. That is why they are up, and therefore that person does not have concentration in any one school. Now, what is the chance that we'll have those private schools across your areas? I want you to focus really beyond the office and look at your village district, those private schools there. How much of those will be able to employ the number of teachers that are there when they are all graduate teachers? How much will it translate into fees to you as a parent who is taking your child in those village schools? Because our children are there paying 50,000 shillings in school fees. And sometimes you even go about to say, please allow, please allow, please allow, my maize has not yet come, my sugar cane is not yet due, my bijanjalo, all those excuses, people are creating them. At times even the time go when people have even failed to pay. So I want you to make a reflection of how much possible is it that such schools will be able to sustain these people. And therefore, if they will not be able, we are saying that such is a very sensitive conversation that requires a reflection by you as a parent. Because if it happens, the only option the private school owner will have is to increase school fees such that he can amass money to be able to pay off this degree holding teacher. When he increases school fees, it trickles down to you as a parent. But there are always two options. Either the parent will have to squeeze, if it is possible that people out there really can squeeze and meet that, or the children will drop out. And so either sides, we see a lot of constraint on a parent who is the ordinary citizen. We see a lot of constraint on a school, especially the private schools, a lot of burden on the teacher who is required to go and do a degree course when his current salary today is 100,000 shillings a month. When that money cannot even, is not even able to pay fees for the 2 children he has in life. He cannot sustain them in the school where he's teaching. But on top of that, he's also asked that you, on top of your children, also go back to university and acquire a degree. So these are some of the conversations that we are saying, that whereas the bill seems to say that it is wishing well, and indeed it is true, every teacher really wants to have all those bigger academic accomplishments, but in the circumstance, the bill is not helping. And therefore, we need a conversation. The other option that we're also putting forth is that let the government attach a motivation to to higher academic levels. For example, if they only stated that for any teacher who has a certificate will earn very differently and distinctly motivating from a teacher with a diploma, and also the one with a degree will have over and above advantage as compared to the other one, then you will see teachers automatically wishing or rushing to go and acquire these qualifications, because they know from my certificate, when I have a diploma, this is the level of earning I will get to. From my diploma, when I go for a degree, this is the level of earning I will get to. I will tell you, for example, in government schools, that there are so many people who entered on government payroll with diplomas, went ahead on their own accord and acquired degrees, but until now, their consideration in terms of pay has never been changed from the level of a diploma holder, even when they have degrees. So these are the questions that we are speaking about. If it is made that when you are in a system and you were having a diploma, but now you have a degree, therefore your pay is going to change, automatically people will rush to universities to get the degrees because they want to get a better pay level. But it cannot just come from this legislation that has no basis to welfare question.
Okay. Early this year, there was an issue of schools extorting parents, asking for a lot So the child is supposed to pay for computer laboratory fee, science laboratory fee, then the development fee, then you bring how many reams of paper, then you bring this and that, cement, barbed wire,
buy buses, build wall fence.
Exactly. So all these things which the ministry came out to address as extortion to the side of a parent who also has to pay the school fees on top of that. And they came up with a school fees cap that was later halted. Of course, everyone was excited. And I think some people, to some people, it was a threat. But this, and still the ministry came out to issue a directive over some of those informal contributions like development fee, school van fee, and all that. But when we get back to, because this happens majorly in private schools,
yes,
and not, is there a way you are trying to address this so that at the end of the day a parent doesn't look at it as extorting them or exploiting them financially? Is there a way you're addressing it as the union?
On top of the list of what you just said, I have an experience of a school that compulsorily charged prom fees, 200,000 shillings, and whether you participated or not, you had to pay, and without paying, you would be sent back. But that is where we are. That question is not something that can easily be addressed by other than the government. Okay. It is a question of policy. The government has tried to put forth these kind of hoodwinking declarations. May I call them hoodwinking declarations? Because they have not yielded. Yeah. And they are not even about to yield. Putting a cap to how much somebody should charge in terms of fees, putting a cap that there should not be any increment in fees up until you have permission from either PS or so on and so forth. But while that is happening, the schools owned by those same people who want to do to administer that are doing the opposite. That is question one. Question two, point two is that we have an open liberalized economic space where there is no cap for a kilo of beans that is required to feed the children. As the new term for schooling starts, a kilo of beans is different from what it will cost when schools have closed. And there is no regulation on that. So you clearly see that private schools have justification really to ask for some of this much that they are asking for. And the desperate call that has always been there is to advise parents that go to the schools that you can afford. But you see that should not be the thing. Because from the sociological kind of background, the essence of education is to establish equality. A child of the don't have to be able to come at a fairly equal footing with those from the background of the haves. We are all into the same class. It's even the reason why when we are into class, we are asked to dress up uniformly, such that you do not see yourself as a son of a king, as a son of a Mungo in town or something. But we have failed on that. And for me, I think the biggest failure or the biggest responsibility lies with the government. First, it has failed to regulate the operating space, because it is quite a wider one. You do not just regulate the school itself, when actually the cost of operating a school is not regulated. Somebody would have to pay excessively for power to run a school. Will he pay very expensively for water to run a school? But you're asking him that, whereas you are charged so highly in terms of power, in terms of water, in terms of cement to build a new classroom, don't charge to be able to recover these costs. So you see, it is just something uncoordinated. So for us, what we consider for really the practical option is for the government to improve its schools. Today, the government of Uganda has a policy of universal secondary and universal primary education. If these were well-managed, run schools, would have more Ugandans willing to take their children into these government schools. And when the will to take children into government school is high, the competition level in private schools would go low. And that in itself would cause a decline in the charges private schools are imposing on parents. But for as long as the government has grossly mismanaged many of their schools, then they are forcing parents to look at private schools as the only option. And now we are giving the advantage of competition where there is a large number of influx. As term begin, or especially New Year, we have here a few schools that we know that even people are buying in terms of just being given a slot. Just for you to have, as if that in itself means paying in fees. But somebody is willing to pay a price to have his or her child be admitted into a certain school. So if that kind of scenario is addressed, and it can only be addressed by making government schools better, government schools attractive. How? Put the infrastructure. Put there the teachers. Ensure that these teachers are doing the best, because overall at the end of it, what you and me want from my child is to go to such a school where the ambience is fair, where schooling, teaching, learning is really going to be very effective, and eventually the results will be better. Today, as we speak, we are doing UNEB examinations. About early next year, we'll be having results from these UNEB examinations. The biggest declaration of better performance will be coming from private schools. We want to see this happening in government-owned schools, such that people then start considering these free government schools as attractive. We'll sort that question. But we cannot start it from the other way of capping the costs when actually the operating costs have not been addressed. That in itself for us, we have been calling it a populist approach, and indeed it is such populist because it has never worked. It has failed for all the times it has been proposed, and it is bound to fail for as long as that is how people are looking at it.
We've seen the government still empowering, especially this year, we've seen very many things. There is, I think it's called a teller machine. There are a lot of things that the government is doing as a way of trying to streamline the policies in the schools. There also the seed school policy, where they're constructing a secondary school in every sub-county as a way of making education accessible to everyone. They've also probably recruited teachers, not to full capacity, but they have tried to recruit teachers. Now, isn't this a threat to primary schools, to private schools? Because when all this is done, then because this is a shared market, and here the government is saying, and the president and Mama have always emphasized this. And he has actually called upon parents wherever he goes that you support my vision of free education for all. Yet in a private school, there are all these charges.
I want to tell you, my brother, that it is not any competition for as long as there is no competition in quality.
Okay.
It is true, I think we almost have a school in a at least a government primary school, maybe per village as we speak. There is intention for government secondary schools per sub-county and all that stuff. But even when that is happening, the biggest number of parents, the biggest number of Ugandans out there have lost the confidence in those. I have already told you that one of the reasons why you want your kid to spend 7 years in primary is for that person to have transformation, academic transformation and social transformation, and other areas that we get from schooling. But when the government schools are just distributed, even one per homestead, when it is not addressing the core purpose, you will continue to wish that your child treks a long distance to go and look for that private school that offers what you desire for your child. What you desire for your child, first of all, is good ambience at the moment of schooling, playing facilities, cleanliness at school, order, discipline, and all that. The other is academic excellence, such that at the end of it, when he finishes his P7, you have there is a fair opportunity that he can get a first grade. When he finishes senior 6, there is a fair opportunity that he can get admitted on a university course. But if the very many secondary government schools are not offering that, they will not be able to compete with those very costing private schools. I want to tell you, it is even a paradox that when you look at these very high end in terms of cost private schools, that is where the biggest number of parents really are running to. Then you're like, but why don't you go to the nearest cheap school, or even such schools that are not charging anything? It's because for them, they aspire for the best for their children, and they have been privileged to have the ability. So people will continue to do that depending on their levels of ability, including those who will at least prefer that private school in the village that is charging 50,000 shillings against this one government school that is not charging anything. And it is happening. So in itself, it's not a threat to any private schools. It can only be a threat when those schools do a paradigm shift in terms of their performance. We want efficacy in terms of management of those schools. What happens? You talked about the teller systems, the teller machines, where teachers go, present their faces, do a fingerprint sign-in to register presence. But I mean, people are providing excuses that it is network operated, therefore me I did not check in because the network was off. Meanwhile, it is really absenteeism. The head teacher himself who would possibly be managing it is putting his coat and for 2 weeks is out of school. So how do you expect that now your subordinates will be very effective when you yourself, the supervisor, you are not at the station for a week, for 2 weeks, and your explanation is I'm up for a workshop, I'm up for something else, and so on and so forth. So even your subordinates will have such reasons. Therefore, what should be done is for the schools to improve their management, for the schools to improve on the results. Once that is done, and a parent realizes that, well, as I am paying $1 million shillings in a private school X, in a government school where they are only asking for porridge for my children, maybe costing 50,000 shillings, the children there are able to get equal or even better grades than where I'm paying $1 million shillings. Automatically, you will see people moving away from the private schools to these other, provided there is assurance of results. But in the circumstances where we don't have that...
Our time is almost out. But how do you wind up all this discussion?
One is that the journey of education is a journey that concerns the entire Uganda, because once the education is dead, then the whole nation is down. I think as a government which has the supreme role to provide education, to regulate and other things, we want to request that deliberate consultations are done with stakeholders to have these wider discussions. The wider discussions will bring on table the reflections of a parent, the children, the teachers, and what you will get out of that might be a very great experience and basis for us really to regulate the scope of education. And with that, we shall have the best that we desire for our country. I want to thank you, my brother. I want to thank our viewers out there. I want to thank especially the parents and the teachers who have been listening us from the moment of start. I just got an alert from one of my colleagues called Joel Omobi. I think he's based in Namutumba. He's glued on to the station. Thank you so much, Joel, for tuning in. Pass regards to all the colleagues, the teachers from that side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Juma. And thank you so much to our viewer from wherever you've been watching from. Of course, those who have been watching us from social media platforms, those that have been watching from the app, from the website, and from YouTube. Thank you so much. Plus, you who has been watching from the mainstream. Edwin Austin Mukalas is my name. I've worked with Jonan, Didmas, and very many other people out there that you never see. Yeah, but they make things happen there on your screen. From the entire team, good night.